Hey guys, my name's Jay, and welcome back to the Canadian Crypt. If you've been following the channel over the last few months, it'll come as no surprise that I tend to gravitate towards the slasher films. So today I've decided to go over my top 10 underrated slasher films that don't receive nearly enough praise. So with that being said, let's get into the list. Starting off, we have 1987's Blood Rage. Directed by John Grismer, the film follows twin brothers Terry and Todd. When they were kids, Todd was institutionalized for murder. Now fast forward 10 years, Todd escapes from the mental institution on Thanksgiving night. Now he's enraged and out for blood. This film is a lot of fun, chock full of over-the-top kills and an amazing musical score. Moving on, we have 1981's The Burning. After a man is burned alive during a camp prank gone wrong, he is hospitalized with severe burns all over his body. 5 years later, he is released from the hospital, and now he's returning to the camp to seek his revenge. The film is full of brutal kills, and the practical effects are top-notch thanks to the special effects wizard himself, Tom Savini. Up next, we have 1979's Tourist Trap. Directed by David Schmoller, the film follows a group of friends who break down at an old wax museum/resort called Slosson's Lost Oasis. It's there where they encounter a masked killer who uses telekinetic powers to control the museum's mannequins and turn them into living wax figures. I consider this film to be criminally underrated. It's extremely creepy, extremely creative, and the film score is top-notch. Moving on to one of my personal favorite slasher films of all time, we have 1980's Maniac. Directed by William Lustig, the film tells the story of Frank Zito, a psychopathic killer who stalks the streets of New York on a hunt for young women to scalp for his collection. It's an extremely gritty and gore-filled slasher film, focusing heavily on the killer and his struggle with trauma and mental illness. Maniac also features an outstanding performance by Joe Spinell and has some amazing special effects work done by Tom Savini. I highly recommend giving Maniac a watch. Moving on, we have 1986's Trick or Treat. Directed by Charles Martin Smith, the film follows a young metalhead named Eddie, better known as Ragman. Eddie is obsessed with the metal musician Sammy Kerr, who ends up dying in a house fire. Now crushed by the loss of his hero, Eddie receives a copy of Sammy Kerr's never-released final album, but what he doesn't realize is that this album contains much more than just music. This is heavy metal horror at its best, and it also features cameos from Ozzy Osbourne and Gene Simmons. Moving on, we have 1974's Bob Clark classic, Black Christmas. The film tells the story of a serial killer hiding in the attic of a sorority house, stalking the girls with disturbing phone calls as he kills them off one by one. This movie does such a great job at building suspense and is arguably one of the most overlooked slashers in horror history. A fun fact about Bob Clark, not only did he direct Black Christmas, but he also directed the family Christmas classic, A Christmas Story. Moving on to number 7, I have 1980's Motel Hell. Directed by Kevin Connor, the film tells the story of farmer Vincent and his sister Ida who run a motel called Motel Hell. But this is no ordinary motel, it's actually partly a slaughterhouse where farmer Vincent makes his locally famous hickory smoked meat. But what he fails to mention to his customers is the secret ingredient: 100% pure human flesh. You definitely get Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibes from this one, and there are arguments on whether it was like a black comedy or a slasher film, but in my opinion, it's the best of both worlds. And remember, it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters. Moving on to number 8, we have 1980's Terror Train. The film tells the story of a group of college kids who decide to have a New Year's costume party on a train, but what they don't realize is that there is a killer aboard waiting to kill them off one by one. Moving on to number 9, we have the 1976 film Alice Sweet Alice. The film follows Karen and Alice living with their mother. Alice feels neglected by her mother when Karen receives more attention than her. This causes Alice to act out, and when Karen is brutally murdered in church, all fingers are pointed at Alice as the main suspect. To finish things off, we have 1980's New Year's Evil.
Call me evil.
Directed by Emmett Alston, the film follows the radio personality as she hosts a New Year's Eve party. During this time, a mysterious stranger torments her with sinister phone calls as he kills off someone every hour leading up to midnight. Yes, this film is full of questionable dialogue and over-the-top acting, but I highly recommend giving it a watch if you're into classic 80s cheese. What is your favorite underrated slasher film? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to hit it with a like, and be sure to follow me on Instagram at Canadian Crypt, where I let you guys decide on the videos I'm gonna make next. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay scary.